think it's fair to say that my channel has been pretty heavy recently in terms of the coverage of Joseph Parker. Quite frankly, there's been a lot to talk about. There's been the Bowie Chapu fight, there's been the controversy that came along with that. Now it's been announced that Joseph Parker will fight Meehan next time round. Now, as I always do on my channel, I'm going to say exactly how I see it. I'm going to talk about who I think is going to win. I'm going to talk about how I think they're going to win. And I'm going to let you know my thoughts on the fight. I should perhaps start by saying that I don't have a problem with this fight. I understand that in the process of building a prospect, it kind of is the dumb thing to have them fight somebody who is a very established, long-term fixture in the UK heavyweight scene. I'll give a UK example. In the UK, if you've got a heavyweight prospect on the way up, you know at some point he's going to fight a Michael Sproul. At some point he's going to fight a Matt Skelton. You know, we've got guys like that who are fixtures in the heavyweight scene, who are always there, who are consistent players. Meehan is probably more advanced than those guys, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to view him in the same light. Meehan at his best is a good fighter. We know, that he's been in with some serious names. We know he went the distance and lost in a split decision to Lamont Brewster. We know he gave Ruslan Chagayev some good work. We know he served the ring with guys like Hasim Rahman. He's an experienced guy who's fought at a high level. I'm not going to discredit him. I'm not going to say he's a poor fighter. But for the purpose of this video, we're talking about the Joseph Parker fight, which is happening end of 2015. And I'm going to talk about Meehan as I see him, as a fighter at the end of 2015. I'm laying my cards on the table. I don't see this as a competitive fight. I think Meehan is vastly overrated by BoxRec, who have him at number 26 in terms of being a 2015 fighter. Let's be honest, and I hope I'm not upsetting New Zealand, anyone from New Zealand who's tuning in to watch this video, but Meehan today at 2015, in my opinion, is no more of a test than Bowie Chapu. He's no more of a test than Jason Petaway. He's a solid guy. He's top 50 in my rankings, not top 30, top 50. And maybe he is, when I'm saying he's no better, maybe he is a slight step in the right direction, but it's very slight, because Meehan, put simply, is too old. He's too old to cause someone like Joseph Parker problems. Now, I know he's on a winning streak. I know he's won a few fights. The key form here is a fight that I've just rewatched, ahead of making this video, which is Meehan versus Travis Walker. Now, if anyone watching this video realistically thinks Meehan has a chance against Joseph Parker, I would strongly suggest that you rewatch Meehan versus Travis Walker, where Meehan gets stopped in the 6th round. Now, I'm not necessarily going to labour the point about the stoppage, because it's heavyweight boxing, anyone can get hit, anyone can get hurt. What I'm going to talk about is the action in rounds 1 to 5 leading up to the stoppage. Now, Meehan is ahead on points, he's beating Travis Walker. But in my opinion, the action is competitive. And let's be honest, Travis Walker is a very low-level fighter. I know he's got a padded record on the way up. I know there was some noise about him, but let's be honest, Travis Walker is bang average. And he was making it competitive with Meehan in 2012. Meehan, for me, he looked very overweight. He looked very tired, exceptionally slow, exceptionally plodding, very one-paced in that fight. His jab was effective. Well, no, let me rephrase that. His jab could have been effective, but in this fight proved ineffective. It wasn't a forceful battering ram that you'd expect from a large heavyweight. It was more of a rangefinder, and he prepared to tee off throwing big punches. Even against an opponent as limited as Travis Walker, Cali Meehan was wildly inaccurate. He threw huge uppercuts, huge hooks, which were seriously telegraphed and could have been seen, a mile off. I think there's a moment in the third round where he throws one punch that quite literally takes him off his feet, knocks him off balance, and he throws it in such a reckless, looping, swinging way, it completely knocks him off his balance. For me, the guy, his hand speed was so slow. He was so unathletic. He was so plodding. And I've got to say that this is 2012. And the difference between 2012 and 2015, when you're a fighter in your 40s, is absolutely vast. I think that when these two guys get in the ring, and I understand the fight, I'm not hating on the fight because I understand this is what you do when you build up a heavyweight. You put them in with a sort of stalwart and a fixture of the heavyweight division in your country. So I'm not hating on the fight whatsoever. But I cannot see this fight as competitive. I think the gap in movement between the two fighters will be vast. I think Joseph Parker's youth and athleticism and movement, he will literally be able, and I mean literally, be able to run rings around Cali Meehan at this stage of his career. I think he'll just be able to dart around him. If Parker sticks to his boxing, he should be able to evade Meehan's work. Meehan's predictable. He telegraphs his punches. They come from very wide. His jab is ineffective at the elite level. Parker should be able to dodge in and out of it. Meehan's defensively open. Very defensively open. His hand speed is very slow. We know Parker's fast. We know his hand speed is lethal. We know he's a great combination puncher. He throws punches in bunches. What Parker needs to do, and this is a consistent theme in all Joseph Parker videos I do, is he's got to be switched on from the beginning. He's in against a heavy guy, a big guy, a tough guy, a guy with a big punch, a guy who's known for a big right hand. He's got to avoid getting sucked into a war early on, and he's got to use his natural advantages. The class gap in movement, the class gap in hand speed, the class gap in athleticism is going to be so vast. What I would suggest if I was Joseph Parker, take rounds 1 and 2 easy. Move around. Just use your jab. Don't even exploit gaps. Just look for the jab. By round 3, you can see this dating back to the Travis Walker fight in 2012. By round 3, Cali Meehan's gassed. Cali Meehan's blowing. Cali Meehan is resorting to one punch knockout style attack rather than working his way in. At that point, the gaps are going to come for Parker. Meehan's hittable. He's a durable guy. He is a tough guy, but he can be hurt. Travis Walker hurt him badly. And if Travis Walker hurt him, even though Walker didn't drop him, if Travis Walker can hurt you and put you on Queer Street, then a guy like Joseph Parker can knock you out, especially 3 years later. So, for me, and I understand why certain Kiwis and fans of the domestic scene over there are going to be very excited for this fight. It's a crossroads fight. I get that. No problem with it. But from an international perspective, sitting here in my little one-bedroom flat in the UK, for me, this isn't a competitive fight. For me, this doesn't really get the juices flowing. For me, this is going to be very, very easy work for Joseph Parker. Let me go a step further. Cali Meehan at his best was a very good fighter. But he's a fighter who just about failed at the top level. When he fought Lamont Brewster, when he fought Danny Williams, when he fought Hassim Rahman, for whatever reason, he lost. He has a lot to bring to the table. He's a durable, tough guy. He's very big. He's got a big right hand. And he can go rounds. He's not. I think in his last fight against Shane Cameron, he went 10 rounds. So he has attributes, but even at his very, very best, Cali Meehan wasn't world level. He wasn't world elite level. He wasn't top 5 in the heavyweight division, in my eyes. For me, if Joseph Parker's going to fulfil the promise that we all believe he has. And if Joseph Parker is going to become this superstar of the sport, then Joseph Parker should be beating a peak Cali Meehan, let alone a guy who's 45 years old, a guy who's very inactive, a guy who hasn't fought a top 10 heavyweight for some period of time. Cali Meehan could be dangerous early on. He carries power, he's a big guy. He could be dangerous early on in the same way that Bowie Tupu was dangerous early on. Parker's got to be switched on, he's got to be defensively minded, he's got to be confident that the gaps will come if he remains disciplined. He's got to weather the storm early on, and I think if he does that, the gap in attributes, the gap in athleticism will prove too much for Cali Meehan. And I think both Joseph Parker and Father Time will win over in this fight. For me, it's not a competitive fight. I don't see Cali Meehan having much or any of a chance in this fight. Parker's too good, too young, too fast, too strong, too athletic. Where does this put Joseph Parker? In my eyes, a victory over 45-year-old Cali Meehan isn't vastly stronger form than victory over Bowie Tupu. It puts him there or thereabouts, you know. Parker would still probably be just about outside the top 20 of the heavyweight division based on resume after this performance. You know, you'd certainly have him in my eyes between 15 and 30, that sort of bracket. I understand why they're doing this fight. He's a baby. He's got a huge amount of time to go into the heavyweight division and he doesn't need to be rushed. But yeah, maybe after Cali Meehan, we go into 2016 and then it's time to face someone who is a legitimate top 20 welterweight. That's my thoughts. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, would appreciate it. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. Thanks very much for watching. As always, comments appreciated.